In this video, I wanted to discuss your Fourth Amendment rights, the application for a search warrant and search and seizure issues in some respects. What are your Fourth Amendment rights? It's constitutional prohibitions that restrict the government from engaging in what is called an unreasonable search and or seizure of property. How does that happen? The government, the police, are entitled to make an application to the court, and if they suspect that there's criminal activity and they're going to acquire evidence of that criminal activity, they have to go before a judge. They have to provide facts that are going to provide the judge with reasonable cause to believe that there's a substantial probability that they will be able to acquire evidence of illegal activity at a particular address or location at a certain time and place. So how do they do that? They have to place someone under oath and they have to swear out an application to a warrant saying what their observations were, what information they have available to them, and they have to present that to a judge so that the judge can validly issue a warrant. The police have 10 days from the date that the search warrant is signed in order to execute on that. They have to provide notice to the occupants of the residence before they enter the residence that they are there to search the location, unless they've made an application saying that if we provide notice, evidence is going to be destroyed quickly. Somebody's going to take the drugs that are found in that location and go to the bathroom and flush it down the toilet or something of that effect. And they also have to execute search warrants between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. unless there, again, is some information that would lead the court to believe that the evidence is either going to be destroyed or they have to be there during the nighttime hours to acquire the evidence that they're looking for. Assuming that everything goes correctly for the police and they are able to acquire a search warrant, they search your property, they find evidence, they secure it, they arrest you and charge you, what happens when you are charged, and how does the attorney assert your rights? Well, what they'll do is they'll make a motion, and in that motion they're going to make allegations of fact that either the warrant wasn't sworn out properly, they didn't have sufficient evidence, the police operated outside the restrictions of the warrant, they acquired evidence that was outside the restrictions of the warrant, or the items that they found weren't covered by the warrant. There can also be additional evidence that is acquired on top of the evidence that was already seized. So that can be what is called fruit of the poisonous tree. The remedy, obviously, is the court has to suppress it. What does that mean? That means that the court can't take that evidence into consideration during the course of a trial. So they suppress it, meaning it cannot be considered by a jury in the context of your case. So any attorney that does the criminal defense work should be able to assert those rights for you in the context of motion practice. They would ask for a hearing. If there are disputed issues of fact on the legality of the warrant, the hearing is granted, and then there's testimony that's provided by the police and the people to overcome what factual issues have been raised by the defendant. The defendant ultimately has the burden to show that the evidence that was seized by the police was done so illegally in order to get that evidence suppressed. And then you also have the issues of the fruit of the evidence that had been seized. So if the police found other evidence in addition to what was obtained illegally under that search warrant, the additional evidence can be suppressed as well. There'll be argument back and forth on those issues with the additional evidence if it were something that was going to be uncovered inevitably, or it was very attenuated, it was a far reach from the initial evidence and they would have come across it by some other means. But those are some of your basic issues when dealing with Fourth Amendment search and seizure issues. And if you have any questions about items of that nature, please feel free to pick up the phone and give us a call, and we'll be happy to talk to you about it in further detail.